Yeah. So
Yeah,
the reason we wanted to go um, through the live, you had some things to get off your chest in regards to what
yeah,
Real Russian had said about you, and
yeah.
we had a
So I've
discussion.
got a
The
few
problem,
points written down. I want to keep it very quick. Um,
yep.
so the real Rukshan, I'm actually giving him the courtesy of calling him by his professional name, which he didn't give me in his video. He just kept referring to me as a certain individual or a certain person or an individual. Never named me once. So my integrity is a lot higher than his, and so I'll be referring to him as Rukshan or real Rukshan because
Um,
I'm not going to stoop. I'm not going to stoop that low. So
he doesn't have any integrity, so you're wrong there. He doesn't have any level of integrity.
that's what I mean. But I have some. So
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You definitely do.
um, so I want to kind of reply to a couple of things that he said, and also there was a couple of important questions that some of his followers asked. They're only like basically one or two things. So one of his followers asked how much was I paid, and I'm a shill and I'm doing this for money. I can tell you now that I got paid nothing. I wasn't offered anything from any of the media that I've done since The Age or even The Age or ABC, The Project, whatever.
Yep.
And even if they did offer me money, I wouldn't have taken it. And that kind of, okay, I got paid on Friday and I've got that much left after rent and bills. So I need the money. So, but my integrity, I couldn't do it. It's not right. The message is far more important than taking some money just for some cheap sort of press.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yep. So categorically, you weren't paid. You didn't ask to be paid. You weren't offered to be paid, and making money was the furthest thing from your mind. You just wanted to tell your story of
Yeah,
your experience in the movement. So that's that
yeah.
debunked right,
I
right
think
there.
that's nipped in the butt now. Hopefully,
Yep.
if you don't believe me, go and contact Channel 10 or whatever they need to do, or
Yes.
they'll get the same answer. One of the things Rukshan said, again, I bring up, I'm referring to his name, not calling him a certain individual, is he kept saying that I was distributing at protests these radical extremist pamphlets, anti-police sort of things, which is absolutely made up. I've never done such a thing.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing remotely even close to that concept would be I was writing a novel set in the dystopian future, as in we imagine we're in a police state and there was a chapter in it with counter tactics against police. That kind of shows you the lies that he says it, and his followers just believe it straight away. That's not the case at all. I've never distributed anything at any protest except giving people hugs, and it's
So,
like an exaggeration to the 10th degree. It's like,
well, I've met a lot of journalists in the last 2 years, and what I've been shocked when it comes to journalists, I've rang journalists and said, I've got a story for you, this person in the movement has done this, which is, whether it's fraudulent, illegal, whatever it is.
yeah.
And every time they're like, oh, no, we can't go to print on that, Lance, we can't verify it. I'm like, and I think I've got really good proof. They're like, no, we need more verification. We can't go to print without stronger verification of the facts. And I had a big shock. I was quite shocked. I was like, wow, I didn't know that so many people in media actually had this type of integrity. Because some people in media do tell lies sometimes. They have about me in the past. But anyway, I was shocked that in general, all the journalists that I've spoke to on the phone in the last 2 years, their level of integrity is really high. Whereas with Rushkin, he's not really a journalist. He's heard third hand from a cooker that you were handing out pamphlets, and he just puts that into his story as fact. Now, one very important fact, I don't know if you were going to say this, Ash, and I told you I wasn't going to hijack your live again, but if Rushkin really was a journalist, we wouldn't be having this conversation, because you would be putting a complaint to the press council and they would force him to make a retraction, right?
Yeah.
When a media lie and you report it to the press council, if the press council take action, if the lie or defamation was done in written text, then they have to do the apology in written text. If the defamation or the lie, dishonesty was done via video, then the press council would force that journalist to make a retraction and apology video. And the rules are that that video needs to go for as long as the original offending video. So if Rushkin really was a journalist, you could ring the press council, they'd force him to make a video retraction for the same amount of time as the original offending video.
No, it keeps going on. Well, some of those citizen journalists keep going on about fake news. Well, they're prime examples of that, aren't they? So
exactly.
Another comment, he said that he felt, and he said it's quite evident that I've been exploited by Waleed and the project, and I'm a depressed individual with all these problems and whatever he was saying. I wasn't exploited at all. They treated me well and were very compassionate with the story, and I thought they did it quite a balanced story. They showed compassion for the cookers, as in the protesters.
Yes.
I don't enjoy calling them that, but they call their Rani do. I'm kind of more referring to the followers as opposed to the leaders who are exploiting vulnerable people, which I was one of them. So I wasn't exploited by them. The original interview went for 90 minutes with Waleed, plus about half an hour talking sort of candidly about guitars, ironically. So, so I wanted to clear up that there was no exploitation. They've done a 90-minute video cut down to 6 minutes, maybe 6.5. And I don't say, even I've watched it a couple of times. I haven't watched it like multiple times, but I can't see any exploitation in it. It's, if anything, it's giving the protesters a break, as in saying, maybe we should have a bit more compassion that they're humans and stuff like that. So
exactly.
Yeah.
It was simply a person giving an honest and frank story of your experience in the movement. That's all it was.
Yeah.
You just told your story. You had nothing to hide. You had nothing to gain. You had no motivation to embellish or exaggerate. It was just a simple interview of you telling your story. And in fact, and you were quite nice. You didn't use rude words, or you didn't insult anyone. You just simply gave your take on your experience in the movement. That's all that was. And Rushkin has come out and tried to make it out to be something else.
But that should show you something as well, is by me doing that, the byproduct of it is that they're worried, because they know the movement is in its last sort of stages. It's starting to unravel. They're starting to implode, turn on each other, and create sort of new angles, and they know the game's up. We're going back to our normal society slowly, but we're getting there. They expected us to already be in a police state, and when I was in that brainwashed cult of idealism, I thought the same thing. So it's kind of like, it makes me angry, but I also can understand, because when you're in that cooked sort of mental state, you think you're right. You think, like they say, they think they're on the right side of history. So anyway, talking about the followers just briefly, so I've only got, this is the last sort of point anyway. I've copped, many thousands of comments, and I've read a few of them. To be honest, I'm quite thick-skinned, and of course when you read it, it's not enjoyable, but it kind of gives me a chuckle, because every single one of them, it's basically attacking me personally about being transgender. They're so insecure about their movement and their cause that they can't discredit anything that I said on the project or in any sort of print. So that I thought that was quite interesting and quite telling of that movement, because they're quite right-wing and they're not fans of the LGBT community, to say the least. And that kind of proves it. You know, Rukshan keeps going on at his live videos. Oh, look how diverse the crowd is. We've got people from here and there and everywhere, all walks of life. Well, that's simply not true. So.
Yep. Well, he's pretty quiet on the acknowledging the fact that there's Nazis in the protests. He likes to avoid that.
Even though he had a picture with good old Neil Erickson. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That whole movement has been infiltrated. When I was in it, there was no talk of, like, there was no peacemakers. That peacemakers were just sort of a thing starting up with Nick Patterson. And after I left, I noticed the violence did increase quite significantly, to the point where they're like smashing police officers out and throwing flares and all that stuff. It kind of makes me wonder, there's just so much evidence against their narrative. Like, do they truly think that the worldwide media, all the governments, all the leaders, everything, absolutely billions of us, have conspired just to make COVID up? Like, come on.
They're cookers, man. Don't try to understand cookers.
I know. It baffles me. Like, even when I was brainwashed, I kind of thought, okay, maybe COVID might be a more severe version of the flu, or more contagious. But I've had it, you've had it, and I can tell you it's freaking real. It hits you like a freight train. And if you aren't vaxxed, then that freight train might continue to derail.